FlossTube. My kitty cat is joining me today, and she'll probably jump down after a bit, but she was up there, I don't know, 10-15 minutes ago and just doesn't have any inclination to move. So we're going to film it with her there. She was sleeping here earlier, and now I've got sunshine coming in. So I think she moved because the sun was in her eyes. Poor thing, right? See, I knew it wouldn't be too long. I'm going to put you outside. Okay, you can go browse the neighborhood for a little bit. Hold, please. Today I have a finished object. I have a fully finished object, a few of my prior Christmas finishes, something I'm going to be working on in January, and one whip that I'm hoping to get done here before the end of the year so that I can tally out and close out my 2022 stitching and start fresh in 2023. Many of you know I'm a retired accountant, and I like to close out my year. I still have whips. That's not to say that I wouldn't wish they were all done, but I had a certain goal to meet, and I met that goal. So if I can get this last one finished. Let's do prior finishes first. Most of all these are cross stitch, but this first one I want to show I have had done since probably the 90s. It's just an embroidery, and it's a pillow, and down here it says Woolies. Probably mid to late 90s is when I stitched this. I remember my kids were little, so mid to late 90s. Woolies. I don't remember who it's by. The chart is long gone. Yeah, all of the above. I'm just going to put it right here. I know the sun is here. Sorry. It'll go right there. The second one I know is With Thy Needle and Thread, and it's called Christmas at Winterberry Cabin, and I turned this also into a pillow. This one I stitched, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And this is on a very loose weaved, probably about a 30 count, I would say. Don't remember the name of it, but I finished it into a pillow, and I love it. This is one of my favorites. This style, there's also a potting shed, so a gardening one. I know there's a Halloween one. The garden one has like herbs and whatnot on it, a Halloween one, and I think there may be one other. This is also the same format that I'm stitching cutting paper snowflakes. It's a snowman, so it's more for January, February-ish. And that one I will be working on after the first of the year. Christmas at Winterberry Cabin, With Thy Needle and Thread. I remember the threads are all called for, but the fabric was not. Mystery linen. Don't know. And this one I can't really put a label on the back. But anyway, Christmas at Winterberry Cabin. I just love that Santa. Just love that Santa. Create my pile over here. This one was not stitched by me. This one was stitched by my friend Cree. And I will put put the name of this chart down below here because I have to look that up. It says, Peace to All This Christmas 1809. And I've had this for a good 5 or 8 years. And I just love this one. Very simple. She's the master at simplicity. Love you, Cree, and I will always treasure this. This next stitch I showed last FlossTube, Sleigh Bells. Some of my cross stitches are MIA. I think I have a tote in storage, what we call storage. It's in an old cabin up in the house in the mountains. And when I go up there for Christmas, I will be looking around because I haven't seen that tote in probably 2 or 3 years. And there's still a lot of things that we have in storage. And I know I'm missing 2 or 3 pieces. So I know they're safe. I know they're not ruined. I know they're pretty protected. They're in a really hard lidded tote. Not clear because that lets the sun through. But it's a colored heavy duty tote. So I just have to find that tote, and I'm pretty sure it is in the storage area up in the mountains. This one has been done. See where I'm going to stack these. This one I stitched prior to 2012. Home Place at Christmas. When I first came back to FlossTube, or came back to cross stitch and started my FlossTube channel, this is the one I got the most questions on. Lori Brecklin, Not Forgotten Farm, and I want to say it's called Home Place at Christmas. My chart was the old-fashioned, real thick cardboard one, but I know this is available PDF out in Etsy land on her shop. Again, Lori Brecklin, Not Forgotten Farm. Love this one. This is one of my very favorites of hers. Back in January 2020, barely pre-pandemic, a lot of us stitched this in honor of Leanne. Baby, It's Cold Outside. And I forgot I was going to put an apostrophe here on its before I had this framed. And I spaced it. Because that would say, baby, it is cold outside. So if any of you are stitching that, it really should, to be grammatically correct, it really should have an apostrophe there in the its. But this one is also one of my favorites because it is done on that 18 count rustic raw linen that I talked about in my last FlossTube. It just makes everything, it's a perfect color. It just makes everything look, I don't know. I just think this fabric is, I'm trying to find more of it and I can't find it. So anyway, Baby, It's Cold Outside. This is by Heartstring Samplery. And this one was stitched January of 2020 in honor of Leanne. This next stitch was one of my favorites too. You know, you have so many. Why, if they're not a favorite, why do you stitch them, right? Mary Bell, Homespun Prims by Lori. And I did this one last December. And this one I had framed at Hobby Lobby. It's got a really nice, almost embossed frame. Called for threads, and this one I forgot to put a label on the back. 36 count. I want to say this is Heartland, or I know it's not Wren. I bet it's Heartland. Yeah, Mary Bell. 1811. Lori, you really knocked it out of the ballpark with this one. Big red house, some urns, colors are perfect. It's square. That's one of my very favorite sampler sizes, is it's square. Oh, just love it. Last stitch, prior finish, before I go on to my one fully finished, my one FFO and my one whip, is also from Lori Brecklin, Not Forgotten Farm, Parson Brown. And this is the stitch that my granddaughter, if you really look at this snowman close, I'm surprised he's standing. and hasn't totally given away on his bottom snowball mound here. My granddaughter, who was probably 6 at the time, picked this up and wanted to learn to cross stitch. And I've told this story in a couple of my other floss tubes. But if you look at that snowman's bottom part of his body, she stitched on this, and some of the stitches are going 1/3, some are 1/1, some are 1/2, some are over 2 and up 3. But I left it. And I want this, I want it to stay like that. I may put a close-up of this at the very end so you can see her perfect girl-like stitches. Parson Brown, Lori Brecklin, Not Forgotten Farm. This one's a little on the darker side, but that's okay. I like it. And this one I stitched probably three or 4 years ago anyway. And she's 10 now, so she would have been 6 or 7 years old. I just left it. Okay, the one fully finished I have is in honor of my great-grandparents, Henry and Goldie Seabrass. They were married in December of 1914. So up here, is the monogram HSG for Henry and Goldie Seabrass. And they were married in 1914. Last month I said it was 1917 and I was off, but they were married December 15th of 1914. I love this stitch. This is Christmas Rose by Blackbird Design. Called for fabric and called for threads. Called for fabric is 36 count Ren. This was such a fun stitch. I did have to rechart, of course, the monogram up here because, you know, I had to put their initials on it. But with Blackbird charts, most of them are very simple, full of simplicity, but boy howdy, they have a lot of doodads, I call them. Berries on branches and little tiny snowflakes. And this one definitely was not an exception. It fit in a standard 8x10 frame, but I'm just in love with this. Cardinals up on the top, a red brick house. Charming. And here is the chart for that. I should have shown that at the beginning, but I didn't. It was buried. Christmas Rose by Blackbird Designs. Oh, nice chart. Nice chart. Nice. I'm happy with my finish on that one. My only finish I had for the month, because I finished this and then I'm going to take it to the framers now because I want this one professionally done. And then I finished that Christmas Rose. Let me see, I always get up here and then I don't have something to put behind my work. Oh, this is my very favorite Blackbird of all times, and most of you have probably already guessed it because I've talked about it a lot. Where My Heart Blooms. It's ironed, it's finished, and it's going to go to the framer. This is its chart. I have had this chart. This is one of the very first purchases I made when I worked at the quilt store in Boise in 2007. Oh, just love this one. And I'll put a close-up of this picture in the end. There's sun coming in, so it's kind of hard to... Love this one. Love the house, that multicolored yellow, light yellow, cream, beige, white house. I love it. Love it, love it. And the Home is Where My Heart Blooms is over 1. The writing over here. Off to the framers. I just noticed this quote behind me was the first official quilt I had taken a class for. I'm a self-taught quilter. But this is the quilt. I mainly keep this quilt around. This was the quilt that made me want to purchase my long arm. I've had my long arm since August of 2004. I did 2 quilts and I sent them out, and they came back not even remotely quilted how I wanted them. And I just threw up my hands. I said to my husband, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go spend, you know, $15,000, $20,000 on a quilting machine, by the way. And he's just like, what? But I turned it into a business, so it paid for itself rather quickly. But this quilt did not come back at all like I wanted it to be quilted. And anyway, just a basic Ohio, maybe a Missouri Star quilt that it was from 2002 when I pieced that. Love that quilt. Anyway, Where My Heart Blooms, Blackbird design. Off to the quilter, or to the framers now. My one whip is Stacy Nash. I am in love with Stacy Nash. I want to stitch everything she has. Ohio Farmstead Pin Keep. Get that up there. Big house, a big peacock, some scissors. This is from, I want to say I saw it the other night, 2013 maybe. Oh yes. 2013 revised 2021, and I think I know why. Although this pattern, this chart, I purchased PDF. Here's my work in progress. I had to re-chart the windows and the door in that house. The chart shows everything is cattywampus. The door is not off-centered. Some of the windows are off-centered. Some of the windows are bigger than other ones. But that's okay. I charted it, and that's how far along I am. Love that peacock. Just love that peacock. This is what I'm wanting to get done now in December. It's not necessarily a Christmas stitch, but I'm so close, and this one's small enough that I think I can get this one done. And when I'm on Christmas vacation, I have something else I'm going to be doing that I'll talk about here in just a second. Stacy Nash, Ohio Farmstead Pin Keep, 36 count Winter's Brew by R&R, and some basic called for DMC. And I forgot to mention, I always do that. This one is done on 36 count weathered shingle by R&R. With called for overdyes. This morning when I posted a picture on Instagram, my cat was sleeping here on my settee, and she was just kind of all curled up and kind of had her paw over her nose, and she kind of sleeps in really interesting, warm, cuddly positions. But I had some, I can't fully show you these, but I had some, these are leftover pieces of molding from, well, I guess you can't see it. It's the color of our kitchen cabinets, but all my molding in this house is very straight, crooked, or straight. No, I don't know what you call it. Nothing beveled. It's very, very straight. But these are some leftover pieces, and I did 3 of them, and I will show them to you, but part of them I'm going to cover up because I don't necessarily think you need to see. They're just home signs with a Latin lawn address on them, and they're gifts. But I kind of went through the ringer to try to get these made. I've had the boards for 2 years now. They were left over, like I said, from the molding in our home, and they were painted, but I had I had a great big long one, and I had my husband cut it into thirds because I needed 3 gifts. And then I had to paint the edges. And then a good friend of mine helps me with the vinyl and the Latin lawn. And now these just need to be wrapped and given to my friends. So I was kind of busy with that. 'Tis the season, right? We don't just, I mean, yeah, we cross stitch, but 'tis the season for a lot of other projects too. Okay, what am I going to be doing in January? I don't know. My friend Cree has given me this recipe book, and it's from the 2022 Nashville Needlework Market Cookbook at the bottom. And on page 5, there is a cute little design and a recipe from Alma. It's called pepperoni dip, but I can't show you all of it, and I can't even really, I'll put a picture at the end, or I'll try to insert one here. But this, I have looked and looked and looked for something to fit this little tiny frame. Oh, the star fits. Oh, that's funny. This little teeny tiny frame, and that one will fit perfectly. So I'm going to stitch that on 36 count, and I will try to insert a picture. It's a cute red house, and it's finished right now in the picture anyway. Here it's finished on like a paper mache box, but I just love this design, and it will fit in this little tiny, the frame I've measured is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. So, and then I'll kind of prim this frame out. And the whole stitch though is only 57 by 50. So, absolutely love it. Again, that is in the 2022 Nashville Needlework Market Cookbook. So that is a January stitch. I also have had this for quite some time, 2007. And this company I don't think is in existence anymore. Stone and Thread, Keeper of the Snow. It's a snowman, and I love it because he's got this scarf in the winter wind chill that's sticking straight out. I just love that though. And I have a few of the called for flosses, but I would like to stitch this in January for my snowman stitch for the year. It's not even a whip yet, so this one I'll be starting, but it's only 78 by 56, and I will put a close-up picture of this one too. But I just love his scarf. It's like this straight out. It almost looks like a carrot, but I love him. He's kind of cool looking. When I'm home for Christmas up in the mountains, I'm going to be making a project roll. And I will tell you right now, I'm using the instructions by Vanna, and those mailing tubes are kind of hard to come by. So if anybody has any suggestions, I looked at using a wrapping paper roll, but I think the roll part is, unless I found a different, more beefier one, but I think the wrapping paper roll itself is too flimsy. It's almost flimsy like a paper towel roll or a toilet paper roll. But those mailing tubes are really quite hard to come by. I even thought about a dowel. That would be a seriously big chunk of wood. But if any of you can think with me on something I could use, I checked the post office. Mailing tubes are now in a little square box that's square and long. I have checked Fred Meyer. I have checked my local little dollar stores. I have checked, Staples has some. but that's kind of a hike for me over the hill. And if I can't find something before I leave, I will go get the mailing tube that's at Staples. I can get one on Amazon, but I'm getting to the point where it might not arrive in time. And my logistics are such that I have to travel 5 hours to the north to get to the mountain house. Boise is a good hour away from me and over the hill. So when I go into Boise once every month, 6 weeks, it's an all-day affair. I go to Costco. I go, you know, I gas up the car. The gas is cheaper there. It's just an all day. It's like maybe I have a dental appointment that day. I mean, I really rack up the miles and the errands. And I can get that mailing tube over there, which I'm still planning on going before Christmas. But if I get up to the mountain house and Amazon hasn't delivered the one that I've ordered off of Amazon yet, I'd be stuck. So I'm trying to find something that I can use in the interim without having to go over the hill. But I will persevere. I will persevere because I really, really want to make this project roll with a mailing tube. I just have looked everywhere. I've looked at my local Albertsons, maybe in the, you know, in the office supply section. I have looked. I just feel like that's something I should be able to get local. They're hard to come by. So if you want to make a project roll, start now to look for your mailing tube or something that's in circular dimension to make one out of. Okay, and then the last thing, we're at 31 minutes. I'm gonna have to really cut this down to get it uploaded. The last thing, in January, I'm going to be doing a couple of punch needles. I've got a couple started that I'd like to finish. The first one, though, is probably the only one that I have started, but I'll finish this one and then do another one. Punch needles, you know, they go pretty darn quick. I do have my bag of supplies here. I have my Cameo punch needle, and this one has, I believe that's the small tip. I've got the medium tip, the threaders. I've got everything in this bag. But the first one I'm going to finish is by the Old Tattered Flag, and it's called Fluffy. And Cheryl from Maggie's on Main and I we started this, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe 3, going on 3. Anyway, he's not quite done yet. But for any of you who have done punch needle, and he's really quite big, you punch it on the back on a piece that's the pattern is transferred onto. You punch it on the back, and the actual rug part comes up on the front. So there's Fluffy. He's not quite done, but he will be in January. Fluffy the sheep, and I think he's pretty big. He looks like he's a good 8 inches square, maybe. And I'll probably turn him into a pillow because he's pretty big. But in anticipation of my punch needle detour here, because I'm all about finishing right now. If I've started something, I really want to get it finished. I went out, when I say out, I went out to our storage shed, where everything is kept in seriously tight totes and packaging so that we have never had any mice. I'm not worried about that. And we have these 2 outside kitty cats, and I'm not worried about mice, but we just keep everything really packaged well in totes because our house is pretty small. I'm sitting about 8 feet from the door. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and that's it. But that's okay. I like this small house. The house in the mountains is much bigger. But anyway, I found my Valdani, and I also found my container of punch needle. And some of these are going way back. Most of them are fall, but I'm going to see if I can get these up there for you to see. With Thy Needle and Thread, Hearth and Home. I'm not going to take these out of the packages. 2008. 2009. With I Needle and Thread, Pumpkins Gone Gothic. I love this one. They're so cute. This couple that's, you know, how many times have we seen that classic painting with the guy and the girl and the pitchfork? Most of these are fall or Christmas. Not Forgotten Farm, Home Sweet Home, and this one doesn't have a date. Oh, it does, 2007. All of these are punch needle. With I Needle and Thread, Wool Pocket, 2010. This one's probably every day. You could put this out for every day, even though it's got a red background, but it's got a sheep on it. I feel like I'm a million miles away from the camera, but here's Stone and Thread again. I really don't think that company is in business, in cross-stitching charting business. 2008, and this one is called Welcome Fall. Let's see if I get want the glare off of it. A sheep pulling a pumpkin. Two more Stone and Threads. House on a Hill from 2008. Snowman again with his scarf going all askew. The last Stone and Thread is Warm Winter Wishes from 2008. Snowman with a dark night sky. Oh, Buttermilk Basin, Stacy West. Simplify Crow, but I don't know what year this is from. With I Needle and Thread, Treats for Tricksters. 2007. I mean, how long have I had these? And now I really need to get them done. That one's really dark. I'd be amazed if you could see that one. It's a kind of a primitive pumpkin holding a pumpkin, and there's a black cat. I might lighten that one up a little bit when I punch that one. A couple more. Threads That Bind, another Sean Williams. This is one of my favorites. Shepherd's Shade. And I've already got the DMC for this one. It calls for DMC. Sheep. This one looks kind of intricate. I don't know. This is another one of my favorite. Threads That Bind, Prize Pumpkin. And this also, I've got all the DMCs for it. The pennies on that one around the outside edge. The pumpkin face. Ooh, I like him. With I Needle and Thread, The First Thanksgiving, and this one's from 2007. I don't know if she has any more on her website or not. The First Thanksgiving, countrystitchesonline.com. And then I found all of these at a Goodwill store for 99 cents. And it's an off-brand of DMC, but they're all pretty much the same color. And I thought even for background, they'd probably work for a punch needle. I wouldn't stitch with these. It's called Bucilla, B-U-C-I-L-L-A. There's a few browns and orange, and then all these tans. But for 99 cents, I figured I could punch needle with them. Because you really go through the thread with punch needle. It's just that it's not all on a ball, so the Valdani is really easy to punch with. Where the DMC, you have to keep loading your needle, your instrument, your punching instrument. So it's kind of a trade-off, but I'll probably use most of this up in some of these. Because I mean, 99 cents, can't go wrong. I think that's about it. New for 2023, I will be moving my filming and my posting of my FlossTubes to the 4th Saturday of every month. With the second Saturday, that's no problem, but I feel like I'm cutting my month in half. I'm feeling like I don't have a full month to stitch, even though I do. If I go from the second Saturday to the second Saturday, I pretty much have a full month to stitch, but in my mind, I'm cutting my month in half. So if I want to stitch Christmas, I kind of have to show half of November, which is Thanksgiving, and Christmas stitches. So I just decided I'm going to go to the fourth Saturday of every month, starting in January. So from here until the end of January is, what, about 6 weeks. So I should be able to get a lot done. But the fourth Saturday of every month, I will be posting a new video or thereabouts. Sometime that weekend, between that Friday and that Sunday night, on the fourth weekend of every month is when I should have a new video up. Sometimes phones don't record well. Uploading is really difficult in both of my areas where I live, especially the mountain house. I don't know. It's kind of, I know YouTube is kind of hard to upload. Those are the challenging thing. That's the super challenging thing, is uploading those videos. Yeah, maybe if I lived in a more populous area, but I'm out with the, moose and elk and deer and turkeys and pheasants, and I don't have really, really great internet. So it is what it is. But I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Be safe, be healthy, be happy, and let those that you love know that you love them. We'll see you in January.